A Thursday afternoon in late October. Portland, Oregon. The kind of rain that doesn't announce itself, it just arrives, steady and gray, pressing against the windows like it has nowhere better to be. Ethan Carter sat in the armchair by the hallway bookshelf, the one with the broken armrest he kept meaning to fix. A half-eaten grilled cheese sat cold on the coffee table beside him. The television was off. The house was quiet in the way only houses with sleeping children can be full and hollow at the same time. He was holding his phone. On the screen, a photo of Emily. She was laughing in it. Standing in this very kitchen, autumn light cutting through the window behind her. Holding up a lopsided jack-o'-lantern she'd carved herself. She'd given it 3 eyes and a gap-toothed grin. Lily, only 3 at the time, had called it the happy monster. Ethan's chest did what it always did when he looked at that photo. It went very still, and then it broke quietly, like ice in warm water. He opened his messages, scrawled to the contact he'd never deleted, never would delete. He typed 2 words without thinking, the same 2 words he typed every time the quiet got too loud. I miss you. He hit send. The rain tapped at the window. He waited for nothing in particular. 3 minutes passed. His phone buzzed. A reply. He looked down. The name at the top of the thread wasn't Emily's. It read, Olivia Grant. His stomach fell through the floor. The message from her was simple. 3 words. Are you okay? Ethan stared at the screen. He couldn't move. He couldn't breathe. His mind ran through every possible way this could be worse and arrived at all of them simultaneously. Olivia Grant. His boss. CEO of Caldwell Systems. The woman who ran Monday morning check-ins with the efficiency of a military debrief, who had once handed back a quarterly report with a single red line through 3 pages of work and the note, start over. This isn't thinking, it's typing. He had sent I miss you to Olivia Grant. Before he could figure out how to respond, before he could even land on a plausible lie, a redirect, a self-destruct option, the doorbell rang. 3 years is a long time to be the only adult in a house. Ethan had learned this slowly. The way you learn most hard things, not through a single moment of realization, but through accumulation. Through the first parent-teacher night alone, through learning to braid hair badly, and then less badly, and then almost competently. Through burning dinner and ordering pizza and pretending it was planned. Through sitting in the emergency room at 2 a.m. with a feverish 6-year-old, filling out paperwork in the section that asked for a second emergency contact and leaving it blank. He was 35 years old and he was doing fine. This was the story he told himself, and it was mostly true. He'd kept his job at Caldwell Systems, a mid-sized tech firm based downtown Portland, where he worked as a senior infrastructure engineer. He was good at his job, methodical, patient, the kind of person who built systems that didn't fail, which was, his colleague Marcus Webb had once said, basically the opposite of Ethan's personal life. Marcus was his best friend and an idiot, but not wrong. There had been a period about 8 months after Emily died when Ethan had tried to be someone who was fine. He'd gone back to work. He'd organized the house. He'd maintained routines with the rigidity of a man who understands that structure is the scaffolding that holds you up when nothing inside is holding. He meal prepped on Sundays. He got Lily to school on time. He answered emails promptly and attended every check-in and produced good, solid work that no one could fault. And then one evening he'd sat down on the kitchen floor because the chair felt like too much effort, and stayed there for 20 minutes. And understood that being functional and being okay were not the same thing. He'd told a therapist this. She'd said, yes, that's exactly right. He'd gone to therapy for 14 months. He didn't talk about it much, not because he was ashamed, but because it felt private, a room inside himself where he was doing the slow, unglamorous work of learning to live with loss without disappearing into it. Lily Grace Carter was 6.5, and she was the best person Ethan had ever met. She had her mother's dark eyes and her father's stubborn jaw, and she had opinions about everything. The correct way to fold napkins into swans. The correct flavor of ice cream mint chip, always. and the correct name for the family of raccoons that visited the back porch every Thursday night. She drew constantly. The refrigerator was a mosaic of her artwork. Dragons with eyelashes, rainbows with names. A self-portrait labeled Lily the Brave in large, confident letters. She talked to Emily's photograph on the mantelpiece every night before bed. Just a few words, sometimes whispered. Ethan never asked what she said. He didn't hoard his grief. He didn't perform it either. Emily had been his wife for 6 years. She'd been a kindergarten teacher. She'd smelled like lavender and old paperbacks, and she had laughed too loud at her own jokes, and she had made every room warmer just by being in it. She died on a Tuesday afternoon, 3 years ago in November, when a truck ran a red light on Highway 30. Ethan still texted her number. He knew it was a disconnected line. The number had been reassigned. He'd figured that out after the first month when a confused teenage boy had responded, "Wrong number, dude." He'd switched to a thread he kept under her name in a separate app, just a place to send words that had nowhere else to go. "I miss you. Lily lost her first tooth today. She asked if you could see the moon from heaven, and I said yes. I made your lasagna. I think I finally got it right." He'd never sent one to the wrong person before. 3 years of late-night messages, and he'd never, not once, until tonight. Until Olivia Grant. There are 2 kinds of professional distance. The first is polite, maintained through small talk and coffee machine conversations and the performance of a warm but bounded collegiality. This is what most people mean when they say their boss is nice. Olivia Grant practiced a different kind. She was not cold. She was composed. There was a distinction, though most of the people at Caldwell Systems hadn't worked out what it was yet. She ran the company that her late husband, Daniel, had founded. She'd stepped into the CEO role 18 months after his death, a death that had come quietly, without warning, from a cardiac event on a Tuesday morning in February. Daniel Grant had been 41 years old and had never been sick a day in his life, and then one morning, he was. That was 4 years ago. Olivia was 38 now, and she ran Caldwell Systems the way she ran most things, with precision and without excess. She had kept Daniel's original mission statement framed on the wall of her office. She had restructured his leadership team, expanded the engineering division, and tripled the company's annual revenue. She had done all of this while sleeping 6 hours a night and keeping her personal life so thoroughly separate from her professional one that most of her employees had stopped speculating about it. She didn't go to the after-work drinks. She didn't share stories from her weekends. She sent emails at 11 o'clock at night and thanked people with the word appreciated rather than thank you because Ethan had always privately thought it was somehow more efficient. She was respected. She was a little feared. She was not known. What very few people knew was the other Olivia, the one who kept Daniel's coffee mug on the shelf above her home desk, unwashed, because she was not ready. The one who had learned to cook, badly and stubbornly, after his death because Daniel had been the one who cooked, and she had refused to let the kitchen become a room she was afraid of. The one who drove home some Friday evenings by a route that passed the restaurant where they'd had their first date, not stopping, not even slowing, just passing it the way you pass a place that still has power over you, acknowledging the power without surrendering to it. She had been alone for 4 years and she was fine. This was the story she told herself, and it was mostly true. She sat in her car outside Ethan Carter's house on Whitmore Lane and looked at the rain on the windshield. She had driven here in a specific, deliberate way, not impulsively, she told herself, but with intention. There was a difference. She had read his message 3 times, recognized immediately that it was not sent to her by accident of flirtation, but by accident of grief, recognized something in it that she understood from the inside, and then done the thing she almost never did. Acted without a plan. She had 2 cups of coffee from the diner on Morrison Street. She walked up the porch, steps in the rain, and rang the bell. She told herself she could leave. She almost did. The door opened. Ethan looked at her and could not construct a single sentence. His boss was standing on his porch. She had rain in her hair. She was holding 2 paper cups with cardboard sleeves, and she was looking at him with an expression he had never seen on her face before, something carefully neutral that was doing its best to cover something considerably less. "Certain. You sounded lonely," she said. Ethan stood in the doorway for a moment. Then, because there was nothing else to do, he stepped aside. She came in. The hallway was narrow and warm, smelling of dish soap and the remnants of dinner and the orange spice candle Lily had picked out at the grocery store last week. Olivia's eyes moved around the space slowly, the way a person does when they're trying to understand a life from its physical contents. There were rain boots by the door. 1 adult pair and 1 small pair with frogs on them. There was a coat rack holding a rain jacket, a small pink windbreaker, and a canvas bag with a grocery store logo. There were crayon drawings taped to the wall at various heights, the higher ones in Ethan's careful tape, the lower ones affixed at a child's approximate understanding of level. Ethan led her into the living room. He took the coffee. He said, "Thank you," quietly, as if apologizing. They sat at opposite ends of the couch. "I'm sorry," he said. "I didn't mean to send that to you." "Obviously, I know," she said. "That's why I came." He looked at her. She was looking at the mantelpiece, at the photograph of Emily that sat there beside a small ceramic vase of dried flowers, autumn ones, amber and deep red, that Lily had arranged herself and forbade him from touching. "She was beautiful," Olivia said. "Yeah." He exhaled slowly. "Emily, we were married 6 years. She died 3 years ago. Car accident." Olivia nodded once. She held her coffee cup in both hands. "I lost my husband 4 years ago," she said. "Daniel." A pause. "Heart attack. He was healthy. We didn't know." Ethan went still. The rain was steady outside. The candle threw a small, warm circle of light across the coffee table. "I text her number," he said. "I know it's disconnected. I set up a fake thread so I can still send things. Tonight, I wasn't paying attention. What do you usually send?" He thought about it. Things that happened. Things she would have laughed at. Things I can't tell anyone else. Olivia was quiet for a moment. "I keep his voicemail," she said. "His voice is still there. I called it for the first 2 years. I stopped because I was afraid I'd need it too much." She paused, "And then I was afraid I'd stop needing it." Ethan looked at her. In all the months of working at Caldwell Systems, in all the check-ins and project reviews and quarterly presentations, he had never once thought of Olivia Grant as someone who called a dead man's voicemail in the dark. "I'm sorry," he said, "about Daniel. I'm sorry about Emily," she said. The words between them settled like the rain, not dramatic, just steady. The sound came from upstairs at 10:43. Small feet on hardwood. Ethan turned. At the top of the stairs, barely visible in the low light, stood Lily, hair tangled from sleep, wearing pajamas with cartoon foxes on them, holding her worn, stuffed bear, Carrots, by one ear. She padded down the stairs with the confident fearlessness of a child who has never met a stranger she didn't intend to befriend. She looked at Olivia. "Are you Daddy's friend?" she asked. Olivia blinked. Yes," she said. "I'm his friend, from work." Lily considered this with the gravity of a 6-year-old weighing major information. "Do you like dragons?" "I don't know very much about dragons," Olivia admitted. This was, clearly, the right answer. Lily's face lit up. "I'll show you." "Lily," Ethan said. "It's almost 11. Just 1 minute." She disappeared behind the couch and reappeared with a large, crinkled sketchbook. She climbed up beside Olivia without asking the complete, unconscious fearlessness of small children who have not yet learned to doubt their own welcome, and opened the book across both their laps. "This is Ember," she said, pointing to a dragon rendered in orange and red crayon, with large, lashed eyes and what appeared to be a bow tie. "She's the kind that helps people, not the mean kind. Some dragons are mean, but Ember is kind." She turned the page. "This is her family." Olivia looked at the page. A whole family of dragons, each labeled in enormous uneven letters. "Mom Dragon, Dad, dragon. Baby, dragon. The grandma won. You gave them a grandmother, Olivia said. Everybody needs one, Lily said, with complete authority. A small sound escaped Olivia, almost involuntary. A laugh, genuine and surprised, the kind that slips out before you can decide whether to let it. Ethan watched. He had worked with Olivia Grant for 14 months. He had sat in dozens of meetings with her. He had watched her hold a room with complete authority and redirect a conversation with the subtlety of a chess player. He had thought he understood the architecture of her professionalism. He had not known she could laugh like that. Lily tugged her sleeve. Do you want to see the Brachiosaurus collection? It's in my room. They have names. Lily, Ethan said firmly. Bedtime. Lily sighed with theatrical depth. She closed the sketchbook. She looked at Olivia. Olivia paused for just a moment. Yes, she said. Lily nodded, satisfied, as if a contract had been executed. Okay. She kissed Ethan on the cheek. She waved at Olivia. She went back upstairs. The room was quiet again. She's extraordinary, Olivia said. I know. Ethan's voice was soft. She's the only reason I got out of bed for the first year. They talked until close to midnight. Not the way colleagues talk. Not the careful, boundary-patrolled exchange of professional proximity. They talked the way two people talk when they have both lived through the specific silence of grief and recognized it in each other's posture. The slight brace in the shoulders, the way both of them had held their coffee cups a moment too long before drinking, the way both of them had laughed tonight with a quality of surprise, as if they'd almost forgotten how. Ethan told her about Emily's birthday last spring. How Lily had insisted on baking a cake not for them, but for the photograph on the mantelpiece. How she'd carried it over with all the ceremony of a church processional and sung Happy Birthday in her high, clear, slightly off-key voice. How Ethan had stood in the kitchen doorway and cried quietly into a dish towel while his daughter serenaded a photograph. She still talks to her, he said, every night before bed. I don't know what she says. Do you want to know? He thought about it. No, I think she deserves somewhere to put things that's just hers. Olivia was quiet for a moment. I moved out of the house Daniel and I shared, she said. After about a year. People thought it was healing, moving forward, all that. But mostly I moved because I'd made it too perfect. Every object in the right place. Nothing touched. I was keeping a museum. She looked at her hands. It felt like preserving something. But actually, I was just stuck. Frozen at the last good moment. Did it help? Moving? It helped me remember that I still had a future, even if I wasn't sure I wanted it yet. Ethan looked at the mantelpiece. At Emily's photograph. At the dried flowers Lily had arranged. Sometimes I think loving again would betray her, he said quietly. Like I'd be admitting that what we had wasn't enough, that I needed more. Daniel used to say, Olivia stopped herself. He used to say that love wasn't finite, that it didn't divide, it compounded. She paused. He was the one with the philosophy. I was the one with the spreadsheets. Ethan almost smiled. Emily would want Lily to have a full house, he said, more to himself than to her. She'd want the noise and the mess and people at the table. What would she want for you? He was quiet for a long moment. She'd want me to stop texting a disconnected number at 11 o'clock at night, he said, finally. Olivia's expression shifted gently, the way light shifts when a cloud moves. She looked at him steadily. That seems like a reasonable place to start, she said. The rain had softened by then. Still falling, but lighter. More like the memory of rain than rain itself. What followed was not a romance, exactly, at least not at first. At work, nothing changed. Olivia still ran Monday check-ins with the same clean efficiency. Ethan still submitted his infrastructure reports on time and received back corrections with the same minimalist annotations. They didn't seek each other out. They didn't avoid each other either. They maintained, with mutual and unspoken agreement, the precise professional calibration of two people who respect each other enough not to complicate each other's jobs. Outside of work, things were different. It started with a text from her, 2 days after the rainy Thursday. Not sentimental, just practical. Lily mentioned she had a soccer game Saturday. What time? Ethan stared at his phone for a full minute before typing back. 10 o'clock. Cedar Park. She came. She stood on the sideline in a wool coat and proper shoes, completely wrong for the wet grass, holding a paper cup of tea from the cart by the parking lot, watching Lily's under-7 team chase the ball in the disordered, beautiful way of young children, who understand the sport in spirit, if not yet in structure. Lily spotted her from the field. Her face opened like a door. She waved enormously and without any dignity whatsoever. Ethan watched Olivia wave back. Small. She's trying, he thought. She's actually trying. After the game, Lily's team had lost 4-1, a fact Lily greeted with the same equanimity she applied to all setbacks. Olivia crouched down to Lily's level, which meant getting mud on the hem of her very good coat. You almost scored in the second half, Olivia said. Almost doesn't count, Lily said, pulling off a shin guard. Almost means you were close enough. Next time, you'll be closer. Lily considered this. Do you play soccer? I played tennis in college. Lily's eyes went wide. Can you teach me? Daddy's bad at sports. I'm not bad at Ethan started. He fell off the porch last month, chasing the raccoons, Lily said. There was a pause. I'd love to teach you tennis, Olivia said. Ethan closed his mouth. The weeks moved in that way gently, without announcement. Olivia brought a box of donuts to the front step on a Sunday morning. She texted Ethan links to articles about infrastructure, architecture, and he texted back links to children's science documentaries, and neither of them commented on the fact that this had become a daily exchange. She met Marcus Webb at a neighborhood block party in November. Marcus pulled Ethan aside within 4 minutes and said, with the subtlety of a car alarm, "That's your boss? That's who you've been." "We're friends," Ethan said. "Right," Marcus said. "We are." "Sure," Marcus said. He looked at Olivia across the yard, where she was listening to Lily explain the migration patterns of monarch butterflies with the focused attention of someone who finds this genuinely interesting. "Ethan." "Buddy, come on." Ethan looked at her too. Something moved in his chest, which he chose not to examine. By February, someone at Caldwell Systems had noticed, not in an accusatory way. More in the way offices notice everything through accumulated observation, whispered inference, the slow gathering of small data into a large conclusion. Ethan had been seen leaving the parking garage at the same time as Olivia twice. Someone had seen them at the farmer's market on a Saturday. HR had not said anything yet, but the probability of that silence had a shelf life. Olivia raised it on a Wednesday. She called him, not texted, called at 7 in the evening. Lily was at Marcus's for a sleepover. The house was quiet. "We should slow down," she said. Not unkindly, but cleanly. Ethan felt the words land. He knew what she was doing. He understood the logic. He could see the shape of every reasonable thing she was thinking. "I know," he said. "I don't want to create a situation that puts either of us in a difficult position. You depend on your job. The company has expectations about how I know, Olivia." A pause. "I'm not saying stop," she said, more quietly. "I'm saying slow. I know the difference." Another pause. Longer. "Okay," she said. "Okay," he said. He sat in the armchair after she hung up the one with the broken armrest and looked at the rain against the window. The same window. Same chair. Different, quiet. He thought about what Marcus had said at the block party. He thought about the mud on Olivia's coat hem. He thought about her face when Lily showed her the dragons that genuine, unguarded laugh that had escaped before she could catch it. He didn't text Emily's number that night. He sat with the feeling instead. Turned it over. Looked at it honestly. It had been 3 years since he had felt anything that remotely resembled this. He wasn't sure whether that was beautiful or terrifying. Both, probably. Lily got the fever on a Thursday night in March. It started with a cough at dinner. By 8 o'clock, her forehead was hot and she was moving through the house with the slow, confused shuffle of a sick child who can't quite locate her own discomfort. Ethan had children's Tylenol and cool cloths, and the specific, competent worry of a single parent who has managed childhood illness alone before, who knows that most fevers break by morning, but also knows that 103 degrees in a 6-year-old at 10 p.m. on a school night sits at the edge of a decision. By 10:15, the fever was 103.2, and Ethan called the nurse line. They said, "Watch it, give fluids. If it climbs, go in." At 11, it was 103,6. He bundled Lily into the car. He had been texting Marcus, who wasn't answering. His neighbor Helen was out of town. He was going through his mental list of who to call, not a long list. Single parenthood has a way of distilling the list to its essentials when his phone buzzed, checking in on the sickling. "How's the fever?" "Olivia." He'd mentioned Lily's cough in passing that afternoon. He hadn't thought she'd remembered. On the way to urgent care, he typed at a red light. 103.6. 3 dots appeared immediately. "Which urgent care?" "Providence, East Side. I'll meet you there." He almost typed, "You don't have to," and then didn't. She was in the waiting room when he arrived. Not in the wool coat this time. She'd come as she was: jeans, a gray sweater, hair pulled back. No armor. Just herself. Lily, miserable and pale, spotted her over Ethan's shoulder and said, "Miss Olivia." The way a child says the name of someone who makes them feel safer. They waited 2.5 hours. Ear infection, the doctor said it clearly, treated it efficiently, sent them home with antibiotics and a plan. It was 1 a.m. Ethan drove. Lily was asleep in the back seat before they left the parking lot. Olivia followed him home in her own car. He'd asked her to, and she hadn't hesitated. He carried Lily upstairs. He tucked her in. He stood in the doorway of her room for a long moment, watching the small rise and fall of her breathing, the most important rhythm he knew. When he came downstairs, Olivia was in the kitchen. She had found the kettle. She was making tea. She looked up when he came in. "She okay?" "Yeah." He exhaled. "Ear infection. Antibiotics. Good." She handed him a mug. Her hand stayed on it a moment after his closed around it. Just a moment. He looked at her. She looked at him. Neither of them said anything right away. After a while, Olivia said, "I know you could have handled tonight alone. You've handled harder things alone." "Yeah," Ethan said, "but I'm glad I was here." "Me too," he said. Lily was glad. Ethan. She said his name the way she almost never did, not Carter, which was how she addressed everyone, but Ethan. Soft and deliberate, not just Lily. The kitchen was quiet. The kettle had stopped its hiss. The house held its nighttime sound, the faint creak of the old furnace. Rain against glass, Lily breathing upstairs. He put his mug down. He looked at Olivia Grant, her dark eyes, her tired face. The fact that she had driven to a waiting room at 11 o'clock at night in a gray sweater because a sick child needed another adult in the room. "I'm not ready," he thought. And then, "I don't think that's true anymore." He reached out and took her hand. She let him. What came after was not a fairy tale, which is not to say it wasn't beautiful. But beauty and simplicity are different animals. There were complications at work. Olivia disclosed to the board professionally, calmly, in the language of governance and appropriate transparency, that she was in a personal relationship with a member of the engineering team. The board asked reasonable questions. Olivia gave reasonable answers. A third-party review of reporting structures found no conflict. Ethan's direct reporting line was quietly adjusted to run through the engineering director. The whole thing was handled with the deliberate, unsexy competence that Olivia brought to all things she found important. Ethan told Lily in the spring. He'd been preparing for this conversation the way he prepared for difficult project reviews at work, by thinking through every possible response and mapping a reasonable path forward from each one. He'd even asked Marcus what he thought, which had been a mistake, because Marcus had said, just lead with the love, man, and then stolen a chip from Ethan's lunch and offered no further guidance. He'd asked his therapist, who had retired by then but with whom he still exchanged the occasional email. She'd said, "Children are more perceptive than we give them credit for. They usually already know. Your job is to give it language." They were at the kitchen table, Lily drawing, Ethan drinking his coffee. He'd rehearsed this. He had notes. He said, "You know how Miss Olivia comes over a lot, and we go to the park together, and she came to your soccer games?" Lily didn't look up from her drawing. "Yeah, well, I like her. As more than just a friend." Lily put down her crayon, looked at him with her mother's dark eyes. "I know, Daddy," she said. "You do? You smile different when she texts you." He stared at his 6-year-old. "Is that okay?" he asked. Lily picked up her crayon again. "She's nice. She learned how to draw Ember last week." A pause. "Will she still come to soccer? Okay, back to drawing. Can I have more orange juice?" He went to get the orange juice. He stood at the counter for a moment with his back to the room. Something in him, something that had been braced for years, tensed and waiting let go. Just slightly, just enough to breathe. He poured the orange juice. The thing with grief, he had come to understand, is that it doesn't shrink. It stays the same size. You just grow larger around it, until it becomes a room you can live in instead of a room you can't get out of. He had lived in that room for 3 years. The door, it turned out, had always been open. The relationship grew in the patient, ordinary way of things built on a real foundation. Dinners on Wednesday nights. Saturday errands, run together. A trip to the coast in June Cannon Beach, where the wind was cold and the sand was perfect, and Lily ran screaming into the surf, and Olivia stood beside Ethan, with her jacket zipped to the chin and said, "This is the best day I've had in years." So simply and directly that it landed without ceremony, which was the only way it could have landed. They fought once that summer, a real fight, not a polite disagreement. The kind where things get said that are true in the worst possible way. It was about the way Olivia retreated into professionalism when she felt vulnerable, about the way she managed people, even people she loved, even Ethan the way she managed her company. Efficiently, at arm's length, as if closeness were a risk to be mitigated. She'd acknowledged it. That was the thing about Olivia Grant that no one at the office knew. She was capable of sitting with a difficult truth about herself and not flinching. It took her a few days. She went quiet the way she went quiet when she was processing something important, not cold, not withdrawn, just interior. Turning something over carefully, looking at it from every angle before she trusted herself to speak. She called him on a Tuesday, said, "I've been thinking about what you said," said it plainly, without preamble or setup, the way she said most important things. "You were right, and I'm sorry." He'd said, "I don't need an apology. I need you not to disappear when things get hard." "I know," she'd said. "That's what I'm apologizing for." There had been a long pause. "I do it because it's safer," she'd said. "If I stay professional, if I stay at a certain distance, then there's a limit to how much I can lose." "I know," Ethan said, "but I don't want to live like that anymore." She said it quietly, as if she was still deciding as she said it. "I don't think Daniel would have wanted me to live like that." "No," Ethan said. "I don't think Emily would have wanted me to stop texting a dead phone number for the rest of my life, either." A small sound from her end. Not quite a laugh. The beginning of one. "We're both bad at this," she said. "We're both learning," he said. That was enough. October again. The leaves came back the way they always did, gold and amber and deep arterial red, piling against the curbs, scattering across the sidewalks in front of the house on Whitmore Lane. Ethan had asked Lily what she thought about the park on Saturday. Lily had said, "The good one with the big trees, or the one with the ducks?" "The one with the big trees." "Okay, but can we get the pretzels? From the cart or the bag kind?" "The cart kind." "Okay, yes, definitely yes." Saturday was clear and cold and impossibly bright. Olivia wore a red scarf Lily had chosen for her birthday. They walked through the park with pretzels from the cart, the twisted kind with the coarse salt that Lily ate the salt off of first, methodically, before eating the actual pretzel. Lily ran ahead to the oak tree at the hill's crest, the massive one with the roots you could sit on, and began examining something on the bark lichen. Probably, she was in a lichen phase with the concentrated attention of a scientist. Ethan and Olivia walked more slowly. He had been thinking about this moment for months. He had not rehearsed a speech, because Olivia would see through a speech. She would see the structure of it, the rhetorical staging, and it would feel like a presentation rather than a truth. He knew her well enough by now to know that. He knew, for instance, that she liked her coffee black but would add exactly 1 sugar if she was stressed, that she kept a photograph of Daniel on the credenza in her home office and turned it away from the window on sunny days so the light didn't fade it, that she was better at receiving difficult news than good news, that praise made her uncomfortable in a way that criticism never did, that she was funny in a dry, precise way that most people at work didn't notice, and that she told her best jokes quietly to the people closest to her. He knew that she had started laughing more. Not the surprised escape of that first night, but regular laughter, frequent, unguarded, at things Lily said and things Marcus said and things Ethan said, and occasionally at her own thoughts, the way a person laughs when they've remembered that they're allowed to find the world amusing. He knew that he loved her. Had known it for a long time, so he didn't have words prepared. He just had what was true. He stopped walking. She stopped too, looking at him. The light was October light, that specific, angled, golden October light that only lasts a few weeks each year and makes everything look like a memory already in progress. "The best mistake I ever made was texting you," he said. Olivia's expression shifted. Something in her went very still. He reached into his jacket pocket. The ring was simple, a single diamond set in white gold, chosen with the help of Marcus Webb's wife Clara, who had excellent taste and had told Ethan, firmly, that he needed to stop second-guessing and just commit to the thing that was beautiful. He went down on one knee on the cold grass. Olivia Grant, who ran a company, who had managed a board review with the grace of a diplomat, who had handled 4 years of widowhood with more composure than most people bring to minor inconveniences, put both hands over her mouth and made a sound that was entirely unlike any sound she made in any professional context, ever. "Olivia," he said, "you came to my door in the rain with coffee. You learned the names of all of Lily's dinosaurs. You sat in a waiting room at midnight, so I wasn't alone. You told me things you didn't tell anyone." He paused. "I love you. I want us to be a family, officially, in every way." She was crying. He'd only seen her cry once before the night at the hospital, when Lily had grabbed her hand and said, "Can you stay?" He'd filed that memory away carefully, as evidence of something he hadn't been ready to name. "Yes," she said, immediately, completely. No hesitation. From 20 feet away, Lily looked up from her lichen. She took in the scene. Her father on one knee, Olivia's hands over her face, the glint of something in the autumn light. She processed this for approximately 2 seconds. Then she launched herself at both of them at a dead sprint, hitting them so hard they nearly toppled over, her arms around both their necks, her pretzel still half uneaten, somehow still in her hand. "I knew it," she yelled, at a volume that startled the birds from the nearby oak. "How did you know?" Ethan asked, laughing, untangling himself. "Marcus told me," she said. Ethan closed his eyes briefly. "I'm going to kill Marcus," he said. "You said a bad word," Lily informed him. "That wasn't a bad word. It was a bad thought," she said. Olivia was laughing now fully, freely. The way she'd laughed that first night when the daughter of a man she barely knew had shown her a dragon named Ember with a bow tie. The leaves fell around them in the afternoon light. The pretzel ended up on the grass. Nobody cared. The wedding was small. That had been both of their instincts, arriving at the same conclusion from different directions. Olivia, because she had learned the hard way that large occasions were better appreciated in retrospect than endured in the moment. Ethan, because the only ceremony he needed to feel true was the one that had Lily in it. They were married in May. In the backyard of the house on Whitmore Lane, the one with the broken armrest chair, which had finally been fixed, and the refrigerator mosaic of Lily's artwork, and the raccoon family on the back porch that Lily still called the Hendersons. 20 people, string lights, a caterer Marcus's sister-in-law had recommended, Lily in a yellow dress she had chosen herself, walking down the aisle of the backyard with the dignity and authority of someone who understood the profound significance of the role of flower girl and took it seriously. She also threw the petals with the force of someone trying to clear a path through hostile territory, but nobody mentioned this. Marcus was the best man and gave a toast that was 3 minutes long and made Ethan's neighbor Helen cry and made Olivia laugh until her eyes watered, which was exactly what Marcus had been going for. Clara Webb, Marcus's wife, had organized the flowers. She had also, 3 months earlier, sat with Ethan at his kitchen table and listened to him wonder aloud whether he was doing the right thing, and had said, with the matter-of-fact warmth of someone who has watched 2 people fall in love from close range, "Ethan, you are not replacing Emily. You are not betraying her. You are doing exactly what she would have wanted you to do, which is live your life fully and love your daughter well and not spend the rest of your time on earth alone in the armchair." She had paused. "Also, Olivia is wonderful. I like her better than I like you." He had laughed for the first time in a week. He'd needed that. The officiant asked if they had words for each other. Ethan had spent 3 weeks writing his. He'd deleted them all the morning of. Instead, he said what was simply, quietly true. That he had loved Emily, and that love had made him the person who was standing here. That he loved Olivia, and he understood now that one love didn't diminish another. That the heart didn't have a budget, a fixed amount to allocate, and no more. That he was grateful, every day, for a rain-soaked October Thursday and a wrong number and 2 cups of coffee from a diner on Morrison Street. Olivia, who had not planned to improvise, did. She said, "Daniel gave me this company, and more importantly, he gave me the understanding that work isn't what I'm for. I spent 4 years forgetting that." She looked at Ethan. "You reminded me." She looked down at Lily. "Both of you," Lily, standing between them, holding both their hands, said in a stage whisper that carried to the back row. "Can I say something?" Everyone laughed. After the ceremony, Ethan said, "After." "Fine," Lily said, and looked forward with the patience of someone being deeply wronged. 2 years after the wedding, a Sunday in October. The house was different now, fuller. A bedroom that had been a study was now a nursery. Pale green walls, a mobile of paper birds. A crib that Marcus and Ethan had assembled with a difficulty wildly disproportionate to the size of the object involved. Noah Grant Carter was 7 months old. He had Olivia's eyes and Ethan's chin and Lily's complete and total inability to be patient about anything, this last trait having manifested early and clearly, to no one's surprise. He had arrived in March, precisely on his due date, which everyone agreed was characteristic of a child with Olivia Grant as his mother. Lily had been in the waiting room with Marcus and Clara, armed with a sketchbook and enough snacks to survive a minor siege. When Ethan had come out and told her it was a boy, she had said, "I knew it. I told Ember it would be a boy, and Ember agreed." The pediatric nurse who overheard this had smiled the smile of someone who has worked with children long enough to know that Ember the crayon dragon was a completely reasonable source of prenatal intelligence. Lily had decided, without being asked, that she was in charge of Noah's artistic education. She had already introduced him to her dragon sketchbook, propping it up so he could see it from his bouncer, narrating each page with the gravity of a museum guide. Noah, for his part, stared at the bright crayon colors with his whole face, which Lily interpreted as rapt attention and which was probably rapt attention. On Sunday mornings, the 5 of them, 6, if you counted Carrots, the stuffed bear, which Lily insisted you must had a general policy of nothing, no schedules, no efficiency, pancakes when someone got around to making them, the newspaper spread across the table, Lily drawing. Noah, in the high chair, rearranging small pieces of banana with scientific precision. In the living room, there were 2 photographs on the mantelpiece now. Emily Carter, laughing in the kitchen light, holding the gap-toothed jack-o'-lantern with 3 eyes. Daniel Grant in a suit, at what appeared to be a company event, caught mid-laugh by whoever had held the camera, unposed, genuinely happy. Lily had asked, last spring, why they kept both photographs. Olivia had crouched down to her level. Thought about it. Because they're part of our family, she said. They were part of how your dad and I became who we are. And who we are is how you came to have all this. She gestured, generally, at the house, the photographs, the noise of Sunday morning. Lily had processed this. Like the roots of the tree, she said. You can't see them, but they're what holds everything up? Olivia had looked at her for a moment. Exactly like that, she said. Lily had nodded, satisfied, and gone back to her sketchbook. Olivia had looked over Lily's head at Ethan, who was leaning in the doorway, and something passed between them that didn't need words. The quiet acknowledgement of 2 people who have survived hard things and chosen, deliberately and without drama, to build something good. On a Thursday evening in October the same week, the same kind of rain, Ethan sat in the armchair. The fixed one, now. Both armrests intact. Noah was asleep upstairs. Lily was at a sleepover at her friend Danny's house. The house was quiet, in the way houses with children are quiet only when the children are temporarily elsewhere. Not empty, just resting. The kind of quiet you don't dread anymore. The kind that has furniture in it, and warmth, and the knowledge that tomorrow the noise will be back and you will be glad of it. He looked around the room. The refrigerator visible through the kitchen doorway, still a mosaic, Lily had added a new section, a running timeline of Noah's life so far, labeled Noah's Adventures and currently depicting his first bath, terrified, his first smile, enormous, and his first meeting with the Hendersons, the raccoon family, mediated by Lily, diplomatically. The bookshelf Emily had picked out at the estate sale on Belmont Street, that he'd spent an afternoon sanding and restaining, that Olivia had admired when she first walked into this house in the rain. The coat rack with 4 coats now, 2 adult, 1 child, 1 small. He heard Olivia moving around in the kitchen. The small, ordinary sounds of her, the cabinet opening, the kettle, the particular way she set a mug down. He looked at the mantelpiece, at Emily's photograph. He thought about a rainy Thursday 3 years ago, 4 now, almost 5. The way the quiet had been different, then heavier. Purposeless, the quiet of a room with no future in it. He remembered sitting in this exact chair, in this exact light, and feeling the weight of the silence like a physical pressure on his chest. He thought about Lily's voice from the top of the stairs. "Are you Daddy's friend?" He thought about the sound Olivia made when she first saw Ember the dragon. That surprised, genuine laugh, the one that had gotten out before she could decide whether to allow it. He thought about the waiting room at Providence East Side, the gray sweater, the way she'd made tea in his kitchen at 1 in the morning, as if she'd always known where things were kept. He thought about standing on the cold October grass with a ring in his hand and saying, "The best mistake I ever made was texting you," and meaning it absolutely, in both directions, grateful for the accident and grateful for everything the accident had led to. He took out his phone. He opened Olivia's thread. He typed 2 words, "I miss you." Sent. From the kitchen, a sound, a small laugh. Then footsteps. She came to the doorway, holding 2 mugs, wearing the gray sweater she'd had on the night of the urgent care. She looked at her phone screen. Looked at him. She typed back. The text appeared on his screen. "I'm right here." She handed him the mug and sat beside him in the evening light, and the rain came down outside the window like a benediction, and the house held them all. The living and the beloved dead, and the small new life upstairs, and the girl sleeping at her friend's house, who would come home tomorrow with stories held all of them in its warmth, the way a good house does, the way a full life does, with room for everything that has ever mattered. The leaves fell outside. The light was golden. The mug was warm in his hands. I'm right here.